working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Maricar Velasco delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines, Malacanang maintained on Thursday that foreign vessels passing through the Philippines' territorial waters will be asked to get clearance even if it is not required under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Indonesia has blocked internet access in unrest hit Papua over fears that a stream of offensive and racist posts online will spark more violent protests in the region, the government said Thursday. Agriculture Secretary William Dar has ordered the deployment of local government unit meat inspection services enforcement teams to closely monitor all public and private meat markets and outlets in view of the reported increase in swine mortalities in Bulacan and Rizal provinces. Malacanang maintained on Thursday that foreign vessels passing through the Philippines' territorial waters will be asked to get clearance even if it is not required under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Under Article 24 of the UNCLOS, a coastal state should not impose requirements on foreign ships which have the practical effect of denying or impairing the right of innocent passage. On August 20, President Rodrigo Duterte instructed all foreign vessels to notify or get clearance from the Philippine government authority in advance of the actual passage to avoid misunderstanding. This comes after the Western Mindanao Command of the Armed Forces of the Philippines reported that 5 Chinese naval vessels passed through Cebutu Strait in the waters of Tawi-Tawi. 4 were recorded in July and the last on August 4. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the policy of asking foreign vessels passing through Philippine waters is also to allow government authorities to secure them.
Sabi nga ni Secretary, nabasa ko yung statement ni Secretary Esperon, we will maintain that position as initiated by the President. Sabi nga ni Presidente, to avoid misunderstanding. Ibig sabihin, mas maganda yung alam natin para we can secure them also. Diba?
Asked if there have been any foreign vessels complying with Duterte's instruction, Panelo said he has yet to receive of any report on the matter.
I have not been told if the Office of the President received a report coming from the National Defense Department.
Panelo, meanwhile, confirmed that Duterte will indeed invoke the Hague-based Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling won by the Philippines against China in his next meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping by the end of the month.
Oh, hindi mo sabi ni Presidente, whether you like it or not, I'm sorry, but I have to raise it. Diba? Yun na ang decision niya. He will raise it.
Interesting yan, sir. May nagsasabi sa kanya na ano.
Panelo said the palace will leave it to China to respond to Duterte's latest statement. Duterte is scheduled to visit China for the 5th time from August 28 to September 2 this year. Aside from the arbitral ruling, the president will also raise the 60-40 sharing agreement and the June 9 Rectobank Reed Bank maritime incident where a Chinese vessel allegedly rammed and abandoned a Philippine fishing boat at sea. The president is also scheduled to watch a Gilas Pilipinas game in the 2019 FIBA World Cup at the International Sports and Cultural Arena in Foshan City and visit Fujian University to attend the inauguration of a building there that was built in honor of his late mother, Soledad. Indonesia has blocked internet access and unrest hit Papua over fears that a stream of offensive and racist posts online will spark more violent protests in the region, the government said Thursday. Riots and demonstrations brought several Papuan cities to a standstill this week as buildings were torched and street battles broke out between police and protesters in Indonesia's easternmost territory. A rebel insurgency against Jakarta's rule has simmered for decades in the island region, which shares a border with Papua New Guinea. However, the riots appear to have been triggered by the arrest of dozens of Papuan students who were also pelted with racist abuse in Java at the weekend. Indonesia slowed internet service in recent days to clamp down on hoaxes, provocative comments, and racist abuse targeting Papua's ethnic Melanesian population. However, it shut down service completely late Wednesday. In Jakarta, more than 100 demonstrators calling for Papuan independence scuffled with police near the presidential palace, while dozens of placard-holding demonstrators protested in Bali's capital, Denpasar. The unrest was sparked by reports that authorities tear-gassed and briefly detained some 43 Papuan University students in Surabaya, Indonesia's second biggest city, on Saturday, the country's Independence Day. Hundreds of demonstrators calling for a Papuan independence rally near the presidential palace in Indonesia's capital, Jakarta. Riots and demonstrations brought several Papuan cities to a standstill this week as buildings were torched and street battles broke out between police and protesters in Indonesia's easternmost territory.
Kota-kota lain banyak, contoh seperti kemarin di Surabaya yang terjadi satu rasisme yang hari ini membakar semua orang Papua untuk hak menentukan nasib sendiri. Presiden Jokowi sebenarnya keliru bahwa saya ingin katakan bahwa di Papua itu orang Papua tidak membutuhkan yang namanya pembangunan, infrastruktur, kesejahteraan, tidak membutuhkan itu. Tetapi orang Papua punya akar persoalan, itu Indonesia sebagai bangsa yang besar beragam suku, budaya, dan ras.
A fresh push to repatriate Rohingya refugees to Myanmar fell flat on Thursday, with no one turning up to hop on 5 buses and 10 trucks laid on by Bangladesh. Members of the Muslim minority, 740,000 of whom fled a military offensive in 2017, are refusing to return without guarantees for their safety and a promise that they will at last be given citizenship by Myanmar. They need a real guarantee of citizenship, security, and promise of original homelands, according to Muhammad Islam, a Rohingya from Camp 26, one of a string of sites in southeast Bangladesh that are home to around 1 million people. The vehicles provided to transport the first batch out of 3,450 earmarked for return turned up at 9 a.m. at the camp in Teknaf. But more than 6 hours later, none had showed up and the vehicles departed empty. Officials said they would return on Friday. Bangladesh Refugee Commissioner Mohammed Abul Kalam said they've interviewed 295 families, but nobody has yet shown any interest to repatriate. He said that officials would continue to interview families.
Still, nobody agreed to repatriate to go back because of there are no guarantee of the citizenship and the original homeland, and also the still in the remaining of the IDB. So, if the Myanmar government want to repatriate us, must give our citizenship with Rohingya identity. Number 1. Number 2 is our original homeland. Number 3, our safety and security. Number 4, they have this remaining IDB must resettlement before we repatriate. If the Myanmar government do like that, we don't want to repatriate to our original homeland.
Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said Thursday questions on the legality of the possible release of former Calauan Laguna Mayor Antonio Sanchez should be addressed to Congress. Sanchez was sentenced to 7 counts of reclusión perpetua, up to 40 years imprisonment, for the rape and murder of University of the Philippines Los Baños student Aileen Sarmenta and the murder of her companion Alan Gomez in 1993. Panelo, also chief presidential legal counsel, said the executive branch could only abide by Republic Act 10592, which was passed in 2013 during the time of former President Benigno Aquino III. The law provides new guidelines on how to compute good conduct time, including a 20-day deduction for each month of good behavior during the first 2 years of imprisonment. Last July, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of a petition that the law be applied retroactively, meaning it should cover inmates, including Sanchez, who were jailed before the law was signed 6 years ago.
There's a law. If he qualifies under that law, then we cannot do anything. The best remedy there is you amend the law
Or abolish.
or repeal it.
Repeal. Thank you.
So that's for the lawmakers.
Asked if he agreed with Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa's remark that Sanchez deserved a second chance, Panelo maintained that he was not emotionally attached to his clients. However, he explained how imprisonment is now reformatory, which provides reformed inmates a chance to start a new life.
Ang pagkakaalam ko kasi, yung imprisonment is reformatory. Unlike before na punishment, vindictive. So following that logic, apparently the logic of the law is to give a chance to those who have reformed themselves and rejoin society.
Panelo, however, noted that he had no personal knowledge of what Sanchez was doing inside the New Bilibid prison. Meanwhile, he barred that Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara has ordered a re-evaluation of the good conduct of persons in high-profile cases. He said the committee in charge of re-evaluating good conduct should consider Sanchez's alleged infractions, such as his illegal drug use.
Pag sinabing good conduct, wala kang infraction. Kasi even inside the Bureau of Prisons, there are regulations. So if you violate that, there is an infraction. So hindi ka good conduct on a particular day.
The president's spokesperson earlier denied his involvement in Sanchez's impending release, saying he withdrew as the former mayor's lawyer in 1995. Guevara said Sanchez's release did not need the approval of President Rodrigo Duterte.
Is our most important asset, and
Arts. Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
Welcome back. Agriculture Secretary William Dar has ordered the deployment of local government unit meat inspection services enforcement teams to closely monitor all public and private meat markets and outlets in view of the reported increase in swine mortalities in Bulacan and Rizal provinces. In his administrative order signed on Tuesday, August 20, but was issued to the media on Thursday, Dar also directed all provincial, city, municipal veterinary officers to continue implementing precautionary measures to ensure food safety and food security. Such measures include the prohibition of transporting of live animals, meat products, and meat byproducts unless accompanied by veterinary health certificate issued by a licensed veterinarian and shipping permit issued by Bureau of Animal Industry and its regional veterinary quarantine offices, and the setting up of quarantine checkpoints in all ingress and egress from their respective provinces and municipalities. They were also ordered to report to the BAI any unusual number of swine mortalities in their respective locality and educate swine farmers to observe good animal husbandry practices and biosecurity measures such as putting foot baths, regular disinfection of farms, vaccination, and deworming. He said all animals brought to the slaughterhouse should be checked for fever and signs of diseased conditions. Deceased animals shall be condemned and properly disposed as per BAI procedures. Plant officers of the National Meat Inspection Services and deputized LMIS officers were also directed to strictly implement the No Veterinary Health Certificate, No Slaughter policy. The Philippine peso ended Thursday sideways against the greenback, while the Philippine Stock Exchange Index fell anew due to the growth concerns overseas. The local unit ended the day at 52.255 from 52.29 last Tuesday. There was no trading on Wednesday due to the commemoration of the Ninoy Aquino Day, a national holiday. A trader said the peso remained firm against the U.S. dollar as investors were still in limbo on future decisions of the Federal Reserve, with minutes of the Federal Open Market Committee showing most Fed officials considered the recent 25 basis point cut in the Fed rates as solution to address the low inflation rate and declining business environment. However, the minutes of the meeting also showed that some Fed officials thought otherwise. The peso opened the day at 52.25, better than its 52.37 start in the previous trading. It traded between 52.32 and 52.17, resulting in an average of 52.243. Volume reached $1.266 billion US dollars, higher than the $1.129 billion US dollars last Tuesday. On the other hand, the main equities gauged declined by 0.48% or 38.08 points to 7,848.83 points. All shares declined by 0.54% or 25.93 points to 4,757.15 points. Sectoral indices were a mixed bag, with mining and oil, financials, and industrial rising by 0.93%, 0.63%, and 0.50% respectively. Property holding firms and services declined by 1.78%, 0.89%, and 0.03%. Volume reached 2.1 billion shares amounting to 9.92 billion pesos. Decliners led advancers at 129 to 75, while 44 shares were unchanged. The country's cattle and goat output recorded a slight decline in the April to June period due to lower production in 8 regions, the Philippine Statistics Authority said in its latest report. The PSA said cattle output during the period fell by 1.9% to 65,200 metric tons from last year's 66,460 metric tons. The agency attributed this to the decline in the output of 8 regions. Of the 8 regions, Zamboanga Peninsula registered the biggest drop at 28.1% to 1,430 MT from 1,990 MT a year ago, according to the PSA. The PSA said in its cattle situation report published recently, among the regions, northern Mindanao was the top producer of cattle at 10,470 MT live weight. It added this was followed by Calabarzon and Ilocos region with production of 9,510 MT and 7,240 MT live weight respectively. These three regions contributed 41.8% to the country's total cattle production. The country's total cattle inventory as of July was estimated at 2.56 million heads, slightly higher than the 2.55 million heads recorded in the same period a year ago, according to the PSA. It added in backyard farms, cattle inventory at 2.41 million heads increased by 0.4% from the previous year's count of 2.40 million heads. Adding stocks in commercial farms at 153,930 heads decreased by 0.04% from the previous year's count of 154,000 heads. The PSA further said the top 5 regions in terms of cattle inventory were Ilocos region, Central Visayas, Calabarzon, Western Visayas, and Northern Mindanao. It added the combined stocks of these 5 regions accounted for 52.6% of the country's total cattle inventory.
Visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. That you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Welcome back. The Federation of Free Farmers Incorporated, or FFF, said direct cash assistance will allow rice planters to better cope with the adverse effects of a law that eased the restrictions on imports. FFF National Manager Raul Q. Montemayor also said rice farmers may have a hard time availing loans under a program rolled out by the Department of Agriculture and the Land Bank of the Philippines due to the bank's stringent requirements. Montemayor said in a recent interview, Land Bank is not geared for direct lending to farmers, and farmers cannot comply with their requirements even if the interest rate is zero. He added the only viable approach is to lend through conduits such as cooperatives, rural banks, and other microfinance institutions. But again, the reach is limited and the funds might go only to those who are already being serviced by the conduits. Instead of cash transfer program, the government will roll out a 1.5 billion loan or 1.5 billion peso loan program with zero interest rate for rice farmers who incurred losses due to influx of cheaper imports after Republic Act 11203 took effect on March 5. Agriculture Secretary William D. Dar said the lack of funds forced the DA to scrap its initial plan of implementing a conditional cash transfer program. Montemayor, who is also the chairman of the Philippine Council for Agriculture and Fisheries, said the loan program does not address the immediate problems of farmers, the low palay buying prices. The Sure Aid would be managed by the Land Bank and farmers could start availing it on September 1. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Maricar Velasco and I am 1 with 25.